Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's AIAA Los Angeles Las Vegas section annual awards dinner. We are so happy, honored you are here with us. We have great program ahead of us tonight. So thank you so much. Yeah, so first of yeah, I think each of you, initially I was trying to show the program on the screen, but I think everybody has a copy and we have some folks online. So I guess especially during the recognition session, we can do this. Okay, so first of all, welcome. And first, let me introduce our advisor, Dr. Jeffrey Puchel. As over there, he's our great leader in AIAA. He's now Region 6 Education Director. He was a great leader for us. And of course, there are many great people like Dr. Jim Worth, Dr. Daniel Raymer, of course, Jim here, and Gary, as our technical chair. We have Sherry over there, JPR, our membership chair, doing good jobs. And Daniel, there's a hand, USC aviation safety specialist, is our career workforce development chair. It's going to become our public policy chair. We have Jeremy, who is going to be our career and workforce up to the new term. Maryland, our former treasurer, and the right now region 6 treasurer, and Professor Mardu, and here, and the Doc Stewart, and more people, so we can get more, but I'm mentioned here. My name is Ken Louis. I'm the section chair here, so I can show you that on your program, you see we have a great list of dedicated council member, including Mr. Dean Davis, Mr. Lin Jensen, Jennifer, Gary here, and Marty Wortman from Las Vegas, Arpan of Sapien, our K-12 chair, and Sherry, I just mentioned, and currently from Boeing, and Ian, Northrop Grumman, Louise Lucky Martin, Daniel, I just mentioned, Ross, he's working with government, formerly was LA Gage, and we have Dr. Seth Potter as ambassador. So thanks for those dedicated members for helping us. So very important part for AIAA is the membership. So we have the, in case you didn't know, we have the annual membership upgrades. We have different level. We have honorary fellow, associate fellow. So you are welcome to apply following AIAA guideline here. So we are very honored to have our honoree here. Of course, first of all is Mr. Jim Mazur. Here, we'll go into more detail. I'm just reading the name here. We have Mr. David Mitchell, elevated to fellow. Unfortunately, he cannot make it, but hopefully he will show up later part because he has to teach in the evening. And Eric Andrews, become associate fellow. Unfortunately, he cannot make it. Miss Tammy Choi, she is vice president of cybersecurity in Aerospace Corporation, just elevated to associate fellow. Then we have Dr. Amir Rahmani, Amir, okay, thank you. So at this point, Jeff, would you come forward? We'll help you to recognize our distinguished member advancement. So here the first is Jim. So do you want to have a mention a little bit Jim and ask?
So we're very,
can you take picture?
Very honored to have Jim Mazur with us this evening. Aerojet is being honored with the technical award, but Jim is being honored as an honorary fellow of the AIAA. He has a long history with the AIAA, a past president of the AIAA, and among many other things. So Jim, would you please come forward and receive this award?
This is honorary fellow.
Yes, honorary fellow.
Yeah, this is for honorary fellow. Thank you, Jim. Press work,
yes. You're doing very well at that, by the way. Yes, it did.
Yeah,
yes,
very good. Thank you, Jim.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations. Our great pleasure. So the other gentleman show up here is Associate Fellow, Dr. Amir Rahmani. Amir, could you show up?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amir is.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Yes. So Amir is being recognized as an associate fellow. I'm delighted that you're in our section, even though JPL is in the San Gabriel Valley section, but so happy you could join us. Right. Yes.
Ken is a good recruiter.
Ken is an extremely good recruiter. Yes. Yeah. So let me get, yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my
Thank you.
pleasure. Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The next one, because it's long list, so I will do it from my end. Let's, if you don't see it here, let me show here. Anyway, this is Zoom. Let me put this way. So the next we celebrate the anniversary for our membership. So we have several members from 80-year anniversary. So maybe I'll just go over this very quickly. Okay, so you can see we actually have 80 years of membership. We actually have Mr. Kerr and Mr. Williams. They're 80 years ago, 80 years old. Sorry, membership 80 years, but they're actually in the 90, even 100 years old of age. But they're still following AIAA. And the next, but because they cannot join us, so we just bypass. So 70 years, we are very happy to have Brad Buzz. Here's our second Buzz, Buzz Cohen. He's online. So Buzz, would you like to say something with us?
Well, thank you for remembering me. I started out as a student at the University of Illinois, and that's 70 years ago. So I've always followed the AIAA and have been honored to be an associate fellow further on in my career. Of course, I'm retired now, but I appreciate being here very much, appreciate being invited, and wish you all well. Thank you.
So the next, unfortunately, somebody was sharing screen. Okay, so the next gentleman who is here is going to be actually no other than our Dr. Daniel Raymer, and it's 50 years. That's really amazing. Yeah, 50 is really something. It's a. Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, then you must be joining from kindergarten, right? You joined AIAA when you were kindergarten. That's right. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. 50 years, a great accomplishment. We actually have another gentleman who is 50 years, Dr. Rich Van Allen. Don't know. Oh, he is here. So Rich.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Rich, would you like to say something to us? We're celebrating your 50th anniversary of membership.
Yeah, I thought I was doing pretty well at 50 years until I saw the gentleman with the 80 years. So I feel kind of like a junior here. It's been a great 50 years. I've had a chance to work on all kinds of different projects, from the first couple of moon landings to Voyager to working on strategic defense and a variety of other space missions. And I've been with a company that you might be familiar with called Microcosm. There's a Jim Wirtz I see sitting there, so I can't say anything bad about that. But I've had a great time working there, and continue as long as the brain keeps working. I'm going to keep working. So it's been a great 50 years.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Van Allen. So the next gentleman here online, that is 40 years. So we just finished the 50 years. We had a 40 years anniversary, and the person online is Mr. David Cly. So Dave, would you like to say something to the audience here?
Yeah, thank you for the recognition.
You're open to turn on your camera if you like.
Sure. Thank you, everybody, for the recognition. I feel young at 40 years with my fellows at 50 and beyond. So it's very good to be here. I'd also just like to say that I have a legacy in my son, who is a recipient of the James Word Scholarship back in, I think, circa 2015. And just like to report to everybody that the money was well spent. He graduated from Cal Poly Pomona, is working at Northrop Grumman, and is currently working on his master's degree while at Northrop. So thank you all for that. Thank you, James Words, for sponsoring that. And thank you for the recognition. I appreciate it very much.
David, stay in touch. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you,
Very
everybody.
good. Yeah, we need you. Stay in touch. Okay, so more scholarship. Okay, so after 40 years, we actually have a couple people, like 7 people at 40th anniversary, but only David's here. So the 30th anniversary, we actually got a couple people, but I want to mention is Professor Mike Grantman of USC. He's also 30 years. He just told me he didn't realize his 30 years is very fast. I didn't mention it. I'm also 30 plus. 30 plus. Very good, very good. But unfortunately, this is the final in USC, so he apologized, he cannot make it. It's a mess over there, guys. That's right. Yes, we have Madhu here. Okay, so the next person is Dr. Lisa Kearney. Is Lisa here? Lisa from Race, and she might join a little bit late. She worked next door, but we'll see. We have the recognition for her. So the next person will be Mr. Randy Wushiyama. Randy, we have been meet each other during the event, so I didn't realize also 30 years, so it's great. Please come forward. Thank you.
All right. Well, congratulations, Randy.
Do you want to say a few words?
You know what? I really wasn't expecting anything. Oh, sorry. Really wasn't expecting anything, but I'll take it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take a picture.
Congratulations.
Take a picture. Randy,
We need to get your photograph for
Okay. All right.
Yes. Thank you very much. So the next, we have covered also 25 years. We are trying to encourage people to, count the years, to join us. They will be, honored, recognized. I talked to several folks, but unfortunately, like Silvio, Stacy, Eric, they just cannot make it. So unfortunately, we don't have anyone 25 years. But congratulations for all the peoples for anniversary. So thank you so much. Stay with us.
And the thing that Ken forgot to mention is you are an AIAA member. You'll be celebrating your 80th anniversary at AIAA here. No, that's good, Ken.
Yes, that's right. We were here for you. Well, we are part of your family.
absolutely.
Very good. So we move to our next. This next part is there's a best student paper, but unfortunately none of those UCLA students are here, so we just bypass. And there's our section under Jeff, Dr. Pushal leadership last year for the year 2021, 2022, we actually won the first place for the very large section among AIAA. So, but we actually have an award lunch last year already. So Jeff, we all have happy celebrate together. But there was one person that was missing, that's Sherry. So Sherry actually got her effort for membership, but she didn't show up for the lunch. So now we have a plaque for you, Sherry. I know. JP, I work you so hard. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I
guess you can unwrap it. Yeah.
It's been wrapped for a whole year, right?
That's right.
There you go.
Oh, look at that.
All right.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Ken, do you want to
Beautiful.
Yes.
turn around?
Yes. We have,
3, 2, 1.
You're welcome.
One this way.
Yes, come on. All right. Congratulations.
That's so
Yeah, right.
nice.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Sherry. Sherry actually has been supporting AIAA for long years, leading conference sessions, and then now she's helping us for membership. But actually, she has been helping everything for our section whenever we need her. So this is great. So, but there are several other folks, but we won't repeat because we actually have an award lunch this year for this one. We do have a new person coming from the East Coast section, Morgan. She's now working with Virgin Galactic. She used to work for NASA Langley, but she apologized she cannot make it, but her bio is listed in the program. So now here comes to our major part of the program, which is AIAA Technical Excellence Award. This process is that we nominate several candidates, probably the turn of the year, and we send it through the council member. So all the council members here, the section actually contribute this. We have a thorough discussion, and we pick the best candidate for winning the very exciting Technical Excellence Award, which we give every year. And this year we unanimously voted to award to LJ Rocketdyne for the great contribution for the exciting Artemis, especially the Artemis 1 program. And in case you didn't know, we actually last year when it splashed down, we have a watch party in the same Canberra hotel in the bar area. So people are very excited, right, Steve? Steve, we are here watching watch party, watch party last year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Splash down, yes.
I was here.
Yes, so that's a very important thing. I was here, that's the key word, the buzzword. So people want to be involved at the same time, important project, important mission. LJ Rocket Arbris have been doing wonderful program. You can see on the website that this is SLS, Orion, and Gateway for the important RS-25 engine. Jeff, do you want to add add something more about this Excellence Award?
Well, not at all, Ken. I think you summarized it very well.
So now it's a big award.
So, Jim, would you like to come forward and receive this award, your second big award of the year? Congratulations.
Ready to talk about it.
Yeah,
That's right.
I would have loved to see the.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
That's right.
You want to make sure it's protected to the very end. Yeah.
Thank you.
So much.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, Ken, do you want to
Amazing.
talk about the history of the art on the plaque?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Actually, Jim, this art is by our student branch member. So 2018, because previously, remember, Dr. James, we have a plaque, very good, very nice design with several rocket, aircraft, and we actually gave it to Dr. Bob Brodsky, the awards. But at that time, the council at 2018 realized that there are new rockets, coming. So we decided to run a student art contest. So this girl, Sophia Leon from UNLV student branch, she won the contest. We actually have a couple inches in design at that time from different student branch. And this design, when we saw it, immediately everybody agreed this is the best design. It combined actually Los Angeles and the Las Vegas feature aerospace. So that's the history of it. So we have been, it's beautiful. It's by our A-level students. So yes.
Great.
Thank you,
so
Jim.
much.
You're so very wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
You can't hear? Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, I think they're on, but we're probably not talking loudly enough into them. So thanks for mentioning that. So, okay, we're ready for Jim's talk.
yes. Can you hear me?
Okay.
You-
Well, can you hear me? Okay. I'll speak loudly into it. First of all, I just want to, on behalf of the RS25 team, thank you all for this. It is a beautiful plaque. We put a lot of money into the factory. The office space looks ancient, but I did remodel the entrance into the building, and we have a display case. So this will be a perfect place to display it right up front. So I want to thank you so much for that. Also, as a past president of AIAA, I really want to thank you guys for your service. I had running a volunteer organization is a challenge, and I was there when we redid the charter and changed the board of directors, and we had to sell that to the membership and spent a lot of time on that. We spent a lot of time on that, and but I came through the years and working with all the sections and the local chapters, just really came to appreciate the personal time you guys put in, the passion you put in, and how important it is not only to AIAA but to this nation advancing the arts and sciences of aerospace. So thank you so much, truly appreciated, and I can't tell you how much, but it's amazing seeing the passion, and truly appreciate it, and recruit more. I'm always out doing that. When I'm in DC next week, that's what I'll be doing, is recruiting more. And at Aerojet Rocketdyne, I was gone for a little while. When I came back, I recently put a new head of engineering, and I told him I expected his people to join the AIAA. So we're working on that. So with that, what I do, I'm going to talk about the engines in the Artemis program. I don't have any PowerPoint. I have one picture and then 3 videos. So, but I do need my notes. So what I'm gonna do is I want to start with the SLS and Orion, and then the Artemis 1 mission, and with that context, show some videos, and then I'll go to the big picture. I've been spending a lot of time with NASA, and they've been spending a lot of time with industry talking about, you know, why are we going? What are the reasons for that? And they just came out the Moon to Mars architecture document, and then talk about Artemis 2 through 4. And then if we have a little time, or if you guys want to chat a little bit or have some questions, certainly open it up for that. So basically, this is the SLS rocket. And to really get a sense of the scale, 4 people fit in here. And so the rocket's 322 feet tall. And it consists of these solid rocket boosters, which are made by Northrop Grumman. We have 4 RS-25s at the bottom that burn liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. The second stage is called ICPS. It's the interim cryo propulsion stage, and it has one of our RL-10 engines on it that's also locks hydrogen, that's out of West Palm Beach. And then, of course, there's a spacecraft. And actually, the spacecraft has 4 of our auxiliary engines. It has the Orion main engine. It has all our reaction control thrusters. So for the Artemis 1 mission, I've been launching for a long time, but this is the only mission I've been involved in from the very start of the mission to the very end. We were involved. So, and I'll show a little video that shows, you know, the first thing that happens is the core engines ignite, and that's in this business, that's the best sound in the world, is 3, 2, 1, core engines ignite. I still get goosebumps just watching the video, let alone in real life. And then our second stage engine. Now they have a version for Artemis 5 that's going to go to the exploration upper stage engine. It'll go from 1 upper stage engine to 4 upper stage engines. And what that does, it's really important, because the figure of merit with a moon rocket is translunar injection. And so the more mass you can take to the moon, the more things you can do on the moon. And so this rocket is the only rocket in the world capable of taking people to the moon right now. It's the only rocket in the world that has enough translunar injection capability to take 4 astronauts to the moon. This rocket has about 26 metric tons of translunar injection capability. When they go to the exploration upper stage with 4 RL-10s, then it'll have about 42 metric tons of translunar injection capability. And that's really important, because if you're going to get on the moon and stay on the moon, you need to be able to land and have some other things that I'll talk about to be on the moon. So anyhow, we lifted off and then the solids separate after about 2 minutes. The main engines burn for a little over 8 minutes. And what's interesting about the way this rocket flies, which is unique to most rockets, usually the first stage flies for like 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes. Because of the solid rocket boosters, this thing lifts off. The solid rocket boosters are 3.5 million pounds of thrust each, so 7 million pounds. And then the 4 RS-25s are 500,000 pounds each. So this rocket lifts off with about 9 million pounds liftoff thrust. The solids burn out after about 2 minutes. And then the 4 RS-25s basically take the core stage all the way to orbit. So by the time we separate the second stage, it's actually orbital, which is very unique for a rocket. In fact, with this upper stage, I was talking to my guys and we were going through the mission profile, and they were saying, and this has the second stage engine has something called an extendable exit cone. So the cone's kind of stowed, and then when it gets up there, it extends to give you more area ratio, which is more specific impulse. But they were talking about, yeah, we're gonna go up there and we're gonna chill the engines down, and then we're going to, make sure everything's okay. Then we'll extend the exit cone. And I'm the one who came up with that overall stage design back on Delta 3. And I said, what are you guys doing? This is like 2 minutes. You guys are dropping like a rock, which on a normal rocket you are when we separate the second stage. And they're like, no, we're orbital by then. I was like, it's a very interesting rocket the way it flies, but because the core stage goes almost to orbit, the first stage engines have to operate somewhere between a boost engine and an upper stage engine. And so these were space shuttle main engines that are suited ideally for this. So they're an extremely efficient engine. They burn hydrogen and oxygen, so the exhaust is steam. And to give you a feel for what goes on with the RS-25s, it's about 12 feet high. And at the top, you got liquid hydrogen coming in at -423, liquid oxygen coming in at -297.3. Then it goes into turbo machinery that spins at thousands of RPMs, gets up to thousands of PSI, and 12 feet away, it comes out of the nozzle at 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And that could boil iron. So don't ask me what goes on between here and there, other than it's rocket science, and we got a lot of rocket scientists that know how to make that work. So it's really quite impressive, and it's building on basically the heritage of the space shuttle main engines. Now, space shuttle main engines were reusable, and so our team has been flying these engines. There are 135 flights with 3 engines each, but they're reused. So all in all, we only built about 50 engines total. We have well over 1 million seconds of firing time, lots of starts, but we understand these engines inside and out. And so what they're doing is basically they repurpose these engines. And from shuttle, there were 16 engines left over. So there's enough engines left over from shuttle for the first 4 flights. And then we're building brand new engines, restarting the line for the first time in 15 years, but we're using modern manufacturing methods. So we have a lot of additive manufacturing. We've cut down on part counts, gone to robotic welding, and we're using modern analysis methods. So, so we're actually building our first engine. We have our first brand new built engine in the test stand at Stennis. And I just flew from Stennis this morning. We're running 12 certification tests. We just ran our 7th test yesterday for 10 minutes. And I'll show you a video of the test we ran before that, which was 12 minutes long. And you can't imagine what it's like. To me, it's nerve-wracking because these engines burn at 500,000 pounds of thrust, and you're watching it that much power for 12 minutes straight. It's hard to comprehend how it just doesn't come apart. And we'll get to a quick video of that next. But because of that, though, this is the first rocket development that I know of that wasn't waiting for the engines to be ready. And that's been a big advantage, because usually engine development is the long pole in the tent and usually the most costly thing in the tent. And so what I was going to say was, so from liftoff, we had the second stage, it separates. We have 8 auxiliary engines on the back and the Orion main engine. And then the spacecraft went around the moon, then it came back. And then the service module, which has most of the propulsion separates. So you just have the capsule. And then we have the reaction control system on the capsule, and that orients the capsule for reentry. And this capsule did a skip reentry to slow it down because it comes back. I think if you come from low Earth orbit, you're doing about Mach 25. When you come back from the moon, you're doing Mach 32. And so as you come back, what they did to slow it down is it actually dipped down, slowed down, popped back up, and then came back down to land. And our thrusters provided all that orientation. And then the last thing is it lands in the water, the flotation devices inflate. And those flotation devices were inflated by our pressure vessels that we have at high pressure composite overwrap pressure vessels in our New Jersey facility. So it's literally the only mission I've been involved in from the very start all the way until the very end. So quite an exciting mission for us. Okay, so let's go with chart 13, I think. My communications people sent me a link to a file. I've been on the road, and it's 200 megabytes, so I couldn't rearrange it the way I wanted it. So I picked out the charts that I wanted to use. Yeah, let's run this one. This is a test where we burned it for 12 minutes and we're gimbaling it the whole time to check out all the lines and everything that they can move around. And so that's what's amazing, right? So it's burning hydrogen and oxygen, and you can't even really see the plume in the light we're in, but you can obviously see it's cold. So 6,000 degrees here, and if you stuck your tongue to that, you wouldn't be able to get it off there. And what we have is this nozzle has 1,080 tubes around it to run liquid hydrogen through it. So liquid hydrogen comes in and pushes up and absorbs all that heat. And then the hydrogen goes into the engine to be burned for exhaust. Okay. Okay, let's go back to chart 2 now and show that video for the Artemis mission.
Our return to the moon will be different than the last time. We plan to explore more of the lunar surface and
The
learn
space
how
launch
to
system
live.
is now counting down to liftoff of Orion on its maiden voyage to the moon. And here we go. Hydrogen burn-off igniters initiate. 7, 6, 5, 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
We are all part of something incredibly special, the first launch of Artemis.
This view of Earth from a human-rated spacecraft not seen since 1972 during the final Apollo missions.
Distant retrograde orbit. We're going to be about 38,000 miles away from the lunar surface. We're going beyond anywhere we ever went for Apollo.
The Orion spacecraft is barreling its way back home after circumnavigating the moon and beyond in an elliptical distant retrograde orbit. Splashdown. Orion back on Earth.
Okay, I think I have one more video, and that would be chart 7. And this is a close-up of the engines igniting for that mission. And there's 4 engines. You're only seeing 2 here. The sparks are to burn up any hydrogen that might be down in the area when it And so the solid rocket boosters, once they ignite, you can't turn them off. So what we do is we start the liquid engines first, make sure they're running fine, and then you light the solids, and then it's off to the races. And so for the Artemis 1 mission, the performance, by the way, was on all of our, we're not working any anomalies from that mission, which also is unique in my history. It was a flawless mission. From a propulsion standpoint, and by all accounts, really from an overall mission standpoint to do that. So that the max distance from the Earth the spacecraft was 268,563 miles, which broke the Apollo 13 record, and it traveled 1.4 million miles. It launched on November 16th, splashdown and recovery was December 11th, and it went from 25,000 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour in 20 minutes. And this was our first flight at 109% power level. So obviously these were designed for the space shuttle back in the 70s or 80s, and you design an engine to run at 100%, but we have so much experience and we understand the engine operation so much, we realized we have more margin. So we tested to more margin and we ran those engines at 109%. The engine that's on the test stand now, we're testing at 113%, and those engines will run at 111%. So we'll be running those engines at 11% higher power than they were originally designed for, just based on experience and knowledge and understanding margins and performance. Okay, so the question, and I pay attention to this a lot because you know, when I first took over at Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne, which was back in the 06, 07 timeframe, I ended up at some VIP reception with Chuck Yeager. So I ended up talking to him, and the first thing he says to me, I'd been in job maybe a month, and he says, "Why the hell do we want to go back to the moon?" And I'm like, I don't know. Well, geez, it's a hard question from Chuck Yeager on my first month, but so NASA's come out with they released the NASA Moon to Mars definition document. If you want to look it up, it's called ESMD-001. And what they're saying, the reasons to go, which makes a lot of sense, is the first is science, right? It's our nature to explore and learn. We want to find out about the origins of the solar system, potentially our origins and the universe. And so clearly we want to go for science. The second is inspiration. And I think that's a lot of what AIAA is about, is inspiring the next generation, to get them excited about the business and the exploration. Maybe you don't go into the space business or even aerospace, but you're excited about science, technology, engineering, math, and get people interested in that. That's how I got in it. I was a child when they landed on the moon, and I'll never forget this. That at some point they showed a picture of the Earth, and then I'm sitting with my family, my dad, and my dad looks at me, "Hey, they're showing the Earth. Go outside and wave." and I'm proud to say I didn't, but I think that was, you know, that was the inspiration, though, actually just, you know, witnessing that. And this is a whole new generation, right? There are a lot of people coming into the industry that really eventually won't even experience shuttle. So we had the Apollo era where we went to the moon. We had the shuttle era where we, you know, built International Space Station, learned to live off the planet low Earth orbit, only 200 miles away. Now we're going into the Artemis era, which is a multi-decade era also, which is to go to the moon, but this time to stay there and eventually go on to Mars. And what's so important about that is we learn to live off the planet in Leo, which is about 200 miles above the Earth. Moon's around 250,000 miles away, big difference. And a lot harder to send up emergency supplies or whatever. So trying to learn how to live and survive and not have catastrophe, but still only 2 to 3 days away, so that we then eventually, and the plan is ideally to do a 30-day mission to Mars in 2039. But Mars is 140 million miles away. So you go from 200 miles to 250,000 to 140 million, and you kind of learn along the way. So that's that's part of what that's about too. And then the last one is national posture, right? International leadership for peaceful use of space. And if we don't take the lead, somebody else will, clearly. And so they've identified 4 segments that we're going after. Human lunar return, which are the initial capabilities, systems, and operations. Foundational exploration, which is to expand the capabilities and infrastructure. Sustained lunar evolution, which is basically living off the Earth extended times on the moon and learning how to go to Mars, and then humans to Mars. So, and so where are we going to the moon? Apollo went on the equator of the moon, easier to access, better sunlight, and NASA's picked the South Pole. What's interesting about the moon, unlike the Earth, it's not tilted on its axis. So it rotates, basically in a perpendicular around its axis relative to the sun. So the southern part of the moon has peaks and valleys. On the peak, you can extend vertical solar arrays, which they're working on, and have sun 24 hours a day year round. If you go into the valleys, some of those areas have never seen the sun, and that's of interest because in the shaded areas, they believe there's a lot of water there. In ice form, what they're not sure of is, is it like chunks of ice or a lot of ice mixed in with all the other lunar regolith? And the whole point behind that is if you have ice, then you have water, then you have hydrogen and oxygen. You can make your own oxygen, you can have your own water, and you can build your own, you can have your own propellants that you can manufacture on the moon. So that's why the South Pole's of interest versus the equator. So basically, I think I have one more chart, 14. This is actually just pictures, but so basically the elements you need is, of course, SLS and Orion. You need a vehicle that has a translunar injection capability, and you need a spacecraft. You also need a landing system, one that'll land on the moon and ideally get you back, which is kind of important. You need suits, and it turns out that we don't have suits ready yet, and so they got to work on that. Those are kind of important. The other aspect that they have is this will be part of Gateway, and Gateway is going to be a mini space station around the moon, and it's going to be in something called a near rectilinear halo orbit, which is a very highly elliptical orbit around the moon that requires very low energy to maintain, but it's about a 6 to 7 day orbit. So once you land on the moon, you got to wait 6 to 7 days for it to come back around, to come back and go to Gateway. And the first 2 elements are called the power and propulsion element. So that's power, and this is electric propulsion. That's our electric propulsion, 12 kilowatts. And Halo, which is a habitation and logistics module. And then they have international cooperation. They'll build out basically a lunar space station that will be gateway or a waypoint to the moon, and potentially a waypoint to go from there to Mars. Is an easier way. So Gateway is a key element that's being worked on for launch in 25, probably a launch in 25. And because it's electric propulsion, it'll take it a year to spiral out to the moon and then maintain. And then you need rovers, communications, habitats, and for all of that, you need power. So right now we're working with Westinghouse and there are other competing companies on a fission surface power system to take to create a 40 kilowatt system on the moon. And then eventually habitats, in situ resource utilization, which is ideally you don't have to take stuff with you. That's why the water's so important. Or you can use the regolith to build your structures on the moon. They're working on additive manufacturing, that sort of thing. And one thing I was just reading about that we don't talk much about, but ultimately some sort of radiation protection too, depending on because you're definitely going to be out and exposed. And so there's different types of radiation, but got to be protected from that. And so that represents the elements. And then beyond that, Artemis 2 now is going to be, oh, chart 11. I didn't realize I had so many charts marked on here. Here it is. That's the Artemis 2 crew. So there's Commander Reed Weissman right here. And then the pilot is Victor Glover. And then the mission specialist is Christina Koch. And then this, you see his patch is different. He's going to be a Canadian from the Canadian Space Agency, Jeremy Hansen. So they've been named to Artemis 2, which is planned to launch in November 2024, and they're going to do a 10-day mission out and around the moon. And then the plan is Artemis 3 will be the landing on the moon. So it's going to be the first woman and first person of color going to the moon. It's scheduled for 2025. That's not going to happen. I will take anybody's bet on that one. But we still got to keep working towards it. But I think the 2025 is extremely ambitious. And so one of the things we're talking to NASA about, industry's talking to NASA about, is if you're not ready for landing, then what should Artemis 3 be doing? And it probably has something that could be related to that Gateway space station. And then beyond that is Mars. And so that's what's going on. It's a really exciting time. I'm proud to have been part of the shuttle era, proud to be part of the Artemis era. And I don't know, when I was young, I thought we'd be on Mars by now and living on the moon. So still want to see that happen and still want to be a big part of it. So thank you for the honor and the award. Truly appreciate it. And I don't know if we have time for any discussion or anything.
Omis, go ahead. One second, Steve. Yeah, because folks online, they cannot hear.
There's been a lot of talk in the news about the debt ceiling. So after Artemis 3, do you think there's going to actually be enough funding if they don't raise the debt ceiling? If they do raise the debt ceiling, one of the competitors has a firm fixed price contract.
Well, we're all moving in that direction.
All that way. So what's your feeling? Do you think there's going to be enough budget after 2026 to continue the Artemis program?
No. I mean, the bottom line is NASA's, with everything I described, NASA's trying to fit 25 pounds into a 5-pound bag, right? So the only way it works is if they get private investment. That's how it closes. So they're relying heavily on private investment and then allowing those companies to kind of own the IP and leverage that into, whatever business they can make out of it. So private investment is key to having all the money they need to execute the business. And then if there's less, if they get less funding because of a debt ceiling or something, that just will drag out the schedule is the bottom line. And I think that does put the whole Artemis era potentially at risk, right? And so we don't want that to happen, because I've said this to NASA. I mean, if we don't keep our eye on the ball and all work together to keep this sold, the way you keep it sold is you execute, you make things affordable, and advocacy. So, a big part of what we do is we go to the Hill and educate Congress, especially with new congressional members and the staffers, about why you go and why it's so important, about literally, in California alone, there's 545 companies supporting Artemis. Little companies. We had NASA out here. We went and visited probably 20 or 30 2 weeks ago, and they employ 16,000 people here. But it's these mom and pop places that are part of that, to get the interest locally, that inspire the STEM and get people excited. And they're high paying jobs that then provide return to the taxpayer. So there's a great multiplier effect of this, but a lot of people don't understand that. So we spend a lot of time educating. And so we're constantly advocating with NASA. NASA can't really go advocate for budget. So we know they want more, so we can. But it's crazy when you think about it, because what's DOD's budget? I think they're talking about 780 billion, in that ballpark, right? NASA's budget is 25 billion. And I think if you ask the average American, how do you think NASA's budget compares to DOD? They'd probably say it's about the same. And so NASA gets a lot of bang for their buck for what I think is a relatively small amount of money. And especially for national posture, what I was going to say, and this is what I told NASA is we got to all keep this sold, and we got to do the execution, affordability, and advocacy. If we don't, we're all going to have to learn to read private property keep out in Chinese, and and it really seems to be heading in that direction. So it's a big deal.
Jim, that's great, very professional and very illuminating presentation that you have. The component of getting down to the moon, is that part of this Artemis rocket that we're looking at? No.
No.
Okay.
That was, can't remember what chart it was, but that's the SpaceX Starship is the baseline. So it's a very, very complex approach to land on the moon. And it's got a tremendous amount of technology development to get there. But NASA is running a competition for a second provider. They call it Sustaining Lunar Development. And the competitors, as far as I know, were two companies, Dynetics, which is now part of Leidos right now, and Blue Origin. And they're both going with a little bit more, I would call traditional type of landers. Blue Origin's hydrogen based, but they'll do kind of more of an Apollo type mission where you have a lander and an ascent vehicle. You go down on the lander, leave it on the moon, and then the ascent vehicle will take you back up to orbit. Dynetics has a concept that's got a little bit more about getting out in lunar vicinity, and they would have used up their propellant, but they have these modular propellant tanks that will be thrown away and have in orbit propellant tanks that'll mate back up to give them enough fuel to land on the moon and take off on a single stage. So NASA, we're hearing NASA's going to announce the winner of that in the next few weeks. So we're kind of anxiously watching that, because I think at the end of the day, the Sustainer Lunar Development Team and SpaceX will be in a horse race to get to the lander, but we got to have a lander to get down and get back. So it's critically important.
Thank you. One last question. Is a plan for any of the Artemis 2 crew to be part of the Artemis 3 crew?
They haven't named that.
Oh.
I don't know. They just named these guys about a month ago. And we're trying to get them out to our facility at the end of June with any luck, which would be just a home run. But there's nothing more exciting if you're in human space flight to have your ultimate customer come and visit you. And that reinforces just how important what we do, because we constantly reinforce, how much safety is involved and how critical it is and how important what we work on is. And we do have employees now who haven't, met any astronauts or really worked in earnest on human space flight. And it's a different game, especially if you're going to the moon.
Any more question? Oh, Gary, 1 second. Online people cannot hear you.
Sure. Actually, I worked a extendable nozzle exit cone problem for a time. And I was wondering, was that on the first stage or is that only on the second stage?
Only on the second stage. It's intended to be a high expansion ratio nozzle that only works in a vacuum. I don't think this wouldn't be structurally sound enough in a boost phase environment.
But certainly not at sea level, but once you get beyond the 100,000 feet or more.
Yeah, since
it goes all the way to orbit.
Yeah, there's a well, we get high. We typically, I did a lot of different rockets, but you typically design the first stage to take you to an altitude where the pressure is below a certain pounds per square inch. And that's when, by the time you separate the fairing, typically, which is protecting the spacecraft, you have very low pressure in molecules. And then depending how you've designed the split between your first and second stage, you're safe to separate. But the extendable exit cone is a challenge, because in most rocket designs, it takes time to extend it. And you're on a parabolic trajectory. It's not like SLS flies. So you're kind of going like this and you're losing altitude while you're extending it. So you want to separate and start your engine and be running usually as fast as possible.
Yeah, that was the problem I worked on, that the sudden extension of the nozzle created stability problems with part of the system. And
was that on a solid upper
yes,
stage?
it was.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. But anyway, that was extended very rapidly because of the fact it was a solid.
Right.
And so I don't know if your extension is comparably fast or.
No, it takes, I can't remember how long, and we're getting away from the extendable exit cone after the fourth mission. The engines we're developing for NASA, it'll be 4 engines. We're going to have a fixed exit cone, but it's going to be pretty long because we have this. Luckily, you have the rocket height and space to put it in there. Typically, you're trying to save space on rocket height because the shorter the rocket, the easier it is control and the lower the loads. But SLS is already kind of pre-sized for that. So this cone, the exit cone when it's stowed is about this high, and extended it's about 8 feet high. And so it goes from about this big around to almost 4 feet at the other end. And so it's tucked in half up, and then there's like 3 systems with screws that push it down as fast as it can and kind of lock it into place.
I'd love to see a drawing.
Yeah, we'll be happy to get away from it, I'll tell you that.
Down into the extended part also?
No, it's the extendable part is carbon, 3D carbon. So it's very high temperature carbon, no cooling at all. It gets red hot when it's burning.
There wasn't a lot of discussion about return to launch site or recovery of the first stage. People that didn't understand the fact that that first stage goes to orbit.
Right. And the other thing is you need all the performance you can get. So you got to burn all your propellants. I mean, the Falcon 9, I was president and chief operating officer. I was the first president, chief operating officer of SpaceX. And Falcon 9 was really designed to go to GTO. And then as it evolved, and we were always, Elon and I always wanted to do reusability. And we always said we wanted to do first stage reusability. And then ultimately someday second stage. And we were kind of working out reusability. And what happened is the market, especially with Starlink and everything, the market evolved to low Earth orbit. So you had a vehicle designed for GTO with a market that was low Earth orbit, which meant you didn't need all the performance in the rocket, which meant you have lots of propellant left over. So that led to a concept where you could do a propulsive recovery of the booster. When they do like they just did their Delta Heavy, or when they do other missions that demand more performance, they fly that expendable because they have to use all the propellant. To go to the moon with this construct, you have to use all your propellant. But we did a study, and I just kind of briefed NASA on it at a high level. We did a study of separating, even though you're that high, separating the engine section, and then have the engine section get, there's a inflatable hypersonic inflatable decelerator. I can't remember the acronym. It's like HIAT or something, that was demonstrated on a Centaur stage. And this one would have to be about 3 or 4 times as big as the one that was demonstrated, but you could have this inflatable hypersonic decelerator and could come in and could potentially recover the engine section, because then it could actually be set up to land with parachutes. So it's actually floating on top of that decelerator, and then you just go pick it up. The challenge is we did a ballistic reentry, and the challenge is it's about halfway between the East Coast of the United States and Africa. But there would be we were thinking of other ways to work it. So we're looking at reusable concepts because the engine section with 4 engines is really where a lot of the value is.
Yeah, you say that you're going towards 113% on test and 111% in performance. I worked the Apollo program also, but not in the fracture mechanics. But later on, I learned that the propellant tanks, some of the propellant tanks in that Apollo, used as low of a factor of safety as 1.33 ultimate. And I'm wondering, have you used similar kinds of strategy for going to the higher percentage? Did you start out with a 1.5 or higher, or did we just get lucky and have some reserves in there?
Well, it was designed for full reusability. So it was designed for more high cycle life. And so that gives you more more margin for a single flight. That's how I'd characterize it. So the inherent design was robust enough that over time, shuttle, ultimately, the last shuttle flew at 104.5%. And so the Artemis flew at 109, and we're going to 111. We're not really changing the design that much at all. We're just validating and test that there's no, our analysis tells us it's good, but we're running it at that level and we're not seeing any issues at all.
And of course, something that I've only recently come to understand is that LOX and LH2, when you pressurize them, you're pressurizing liquid, which is a lot less energy than trying to compress gas.
Right.
So-
Yeah. So it's basically incompressible. So
Right.
so yeah, but you can't get, that's what the reason the turbo machinery is for, because you can't get nearly the pressure you need out of the tank, even if it was much smaller. Pressure fed systems generally tend to be relatively small, because even then you only run them at 300 or 500 PSI, and these engines run around, I can't remember, 8 or 10,000 PSI. So you need turbo machinery to do that.
Which is one heck of an expansion ratio to get it down to near vacuum.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just had a question. What is the goal production rate for the main engines?
Right now, we're matching the launch rate, which the goal is 1 per year, but we're working. There's a concept with the industry is right now NASA owns and operates the launch vehicle. And there's a concept where industry would take it over and sell it as a service. And if industry did that, could also sell it to other customers for unique scientific and potentially DoD payloads. And so the goal really is towards the end of the decade to do 3 launches every 2 years. So right now our production rate is 4 per year. But even at the current launch rate, I want to get the unit cost down as much as possible. So once we get to 4 per year, we're going to go to 5 and potentially 6, I think, is the target I have for by the end of the decade for the team.
Okay, thank you.
Is that pace set by the by the manufacturing process with the
well, I mean, we just expanded our facility. So I think our facility could handle 6 per year. I mean, it's just a matter of space and more tooling and machines and making sure the supply chain is capable of more rate. But right now there's not a huge demand for any more rate right now, but we're positioning ourselves for that.
Very good. Any more question? No? Actually, this is a great opportunity. Actually, earlier I have a conversation with one of our winning student, Anish, because initially he was because he's going to Texas for the drone contest tomorrow, right? He's actually packing already. But I told him the Artemis is the future. I mean, although drone is look very exciting now, but you see Artemis 1, 2, 3, and LJ doing exciting project. Could you give some advice to the young generation, how they should prepare themselves ready?
My advice is follow your passion and have fun. That would be my advice. Don't work for a bad boss. It's not worth it. And don't follow money. I mean, ultimately you got to follow your passion, and then you got to decide for yourself what's your personal risk tolerance. And if you have a high tolerance for risk, your passion may take you into more what other people might consider to be more stressful jobs, but might not be for you. But if you tend to be stressed, a high risk job might not be for you. I mean, when I went to SpaceX, I had 6-year-old twins, and I had 20 years with Boeing and Sea Launch, and I quit and went to a startup with somebody nobody had heard of back in the day with 300 people. And the other thing is make sure you have family support. My wife's like, go ahead and go. What do you got to lose? And I was like, well, everything. But you know, she and I had a high tolerance for risk and figured, you know, that sounded like a lot of fun. So I went and did it. So.
Yeah, so the student, I mean, this is a really real leader in the industry. So need to listen to his advice. And Jim,
get lots of advice from lots of people and decide what you like.
Exactly. And Jim, actually, how you mentioned earlier about this community awareness support thing, actually our section following the great tradition from Jim and Jeff, is that we are doing a lot of outreach to school. For example, next week, we are going to Hudson High School. We have been going to different schools. So if anything, we can support you or work with you and your company and get more society to support you beyond Artemis, please let me know. We are more than happy to work on it.
Okay, great. Really appreciate it.
We are trying to emphasize on that part. It is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what AIAA is all about. I mean, that's
right.
Key part.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And actually, not only from the, Daniel will pick up the public policy. Actually, we've been reaching to the former mayor of Hawthorne. He's actually running for Sacramento, I mean, the state senator. So he's ultra interested in aerospace. So we are also trying to make sure the local leaders are aware of your effort and Artemis. And so when they go to the state capitol, you know, they can express the views, you know, to support for the industry.
Yeah, and reach out to me because we have lots of materials for the school kids. So send me a note and we can send you a box full of materials.
Yeah, previously we actually got some flyer from Bill Kelly. When he retired, he brought something, and they would ran out quickly. People love engines. You know, when we went to the look at engine, they just took away, you know, the picture. Yeah. Really like it. Really, thank you so much. And it's great, really great. Our great honor today to have Mr. Jim Mesa here with us. So let's give him the round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next session, you know, you will gradually see what AIAA. Goodbye, Admir. Thank you for coming. So you gradually, the next part is going to be, you know, like events and still you gradually is an integrated part of the AIAA function. So I'm showing here, well, this is the old chart for the, let me put it right here. Okay, so take a look. So we actually have the bio for Dr. Dan Raymer and the Professor Grantman and the Buzz, Mr. Buzz Cohen. I'm sorry. So you can see the program here. Here I'm going to go to the best event because actually we realized according to the previous years, you know, I was chatting with Jim, Dr. Worth. Actually, I was learning. You know, even though we didn't overlap, but actually I was learning from the section archive picture. I actually found out in our storage room, there's an old Canon camera and inside a lot of archive picture of section event, date back to like Susan from Western Regional Office. And I saw your picture, Dr. Jim, and doing like a YP thing demo for the Rocky. So events is really the best way to engage with the members. Of course, membership, like Sherry has been supporting us, public policy. So this year, we have a great event and thanks a lot of support to Madhu, but you will gradually get to that. So we pick up 3 events. It's very difficult to pick up just one, but because Luis actually won the best award last year. He led the student mini conference last year, but this year it was great again. And so we just put it out to see what we are trying to do, and we'd love to work with you. If you can join, support us. So you can see he actually already got awarded, and we have student branch from UCLA, Cal State Long Beach, CSULB, and UNLV joined us. Then we have a tour, SpaceX, and people are very excited. And we have a YP session, actually student session inside SpaceX. Then we have, you know, each of the team presenting DBF, rocket launch, and Dr. Belalacqua. He's our distinguished speaker and talk about this Joint Strike Fighter. So it overall is a student very happy to get together, very important. And then the second one, I have to tell you that thanks to Jeff's support, we have been posting video recording on YouTube. We have a channel. So I've been chatting with Madhu about because Madhu he also told me a lot of experience about the YouTube posting. So just to let you know, right now we post we have like a ranking from the highest view to lowest view. The number one highest view is actually this DCX event last December, led by our executive director, Dan Dumbacher, and a couple, well, I mean, Jim Hakeem, he said he will be online, but he could not make it. He wanted to fly here. He want to say hello to you. Remember the old day Florida. That's right, Florida. You want me to remind you the Florida, the old history there. And we. Those are RL10. That's right. I see this RL10. Oh, didn't realize. And this is very popular. You have Jim French, as you know. Actually, I learned that Jim French actually was our chapter chair in the 80s. Yeah. He actually approached me when we went to the space conference a few years ago. Then we have Jeff Lau from Aerospace Corporation, just Mr. Spanglebo. They are going to have a reunion this summer for the DCX-10. So this ranked number one in our section's YouTube channel, the highest view, over 1,100 views. So this is an interesting event, and it's a reusable rocket, as you can see. And yeah. That reusable rocket project was 1995. Yes, it was like in the middle 90s. And actually, I'm speaking, I've been trying to work with an article and event 2 or 3 years ago. But when Dan Dumbacher came here, he was talking about a funny story that how his son responded to other people praising Elon Musk, SpaceX, inventing this reusable rocket. And his son was defending his father, saying, no, my dad, they did in NASA. So it's kind of, then I realized we actually have a group of AIAA member that actually can support this event. So this is one. And the second largest view, ranked number 2, is space architecture event. So Jeff and we have been trying to explore the possibility, because Dr. Jim Woods have been doing this great Reinventing Space conference in the section. We have been trying to explore the topic and the mode, operation, venue, and how do we work out a good conference. So again, this space architecture, we have 260 people registered and 175 people attended, led by none other than Professor Madhu Sankabenu. Of course, we have Sandra, who is currently AIAA Space Architecture Technical Committee, and we have a student from Croatia, Alma. So it was.
Not do much, the other 2 did.
So because of this, but I can tell you before that, number 3, you can guess, is Space Starship, because during pandemic, we have a talk by a Caltech PhD talking about SpaceX. That's ranked number 3. So we are doing our best to promote the industry and help AIAA to advance the membership and technology. So here it is. So Jeff, do you want to give a word to Professor Madhu Sankabenu? Thank for his help. Of course, because Sandra is in Europe, he's in Wien. Right. She cannot be here. So Madhu will represent.
It's wonderful to read the history, study the history, but a lot of people want to know what's in our future. And this is the reason I teach in the class. And it also reflects on what people want to come to. And, creativity is important. Papa is going to take one too. Okay. Oh, you did?
Oh, well, just one more. One more.
Just a few days ago, we were discussing creativity, and it's clear creativity is not the domain of any particular discipline. But in our case, the aerospace community is very young compared to the architecture community, the medical profession, or the law. And so we tend to be more daring and more creative in the things we do. You all saw what happened to the Starship prototype. And there is a rule that was taught to me by my professor. and he said that, what's the problem? Mike, oh, and he said that there is a heuristic particularly in the astronautical engineering profession, and that is, before the flight, it is opinion. After the flight, it's obvious. And I think it's a very important thing that we learn, particularly in the edge of technologies. Thank you. Thank you for this. Very much.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you for your support. And we actually have been doing this at once or twice at least per year. And last year, Madhu actually hooked up to the downtown engineering company. And we actually have a downtown spike square. Yeah, what's more. And the other thing for space architecture was because Jeff has a wonderful art event a few years ago in downtown LA, art district. And we are trying to explore the art side, the side of art, aerospace. But it's a different community. How to combine them together? We actually learned that space architecture is kind of in the middle. It's good for art people and also good for engineering people. It's a great for.
That was a wonderful event, actually. Yes, yeah, my pleasure.
And Jeff actually was the leader for the art event a few years ago in downtown LA. So Jeff also very interested in promoting aerospace.
Well, I think that's
art.
where the nexus of everything is. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we can work together. Yeah. Okay. So that's next part is, education, of course, is very important. We definitely want to inspire like Artemis and space architecture, DCX or Starship to inspire the next generation. And our session has been blessed, and with every year we have a fantastic student. And I can tell you, our award student go to MIT, UC Berkeley. Doing very, of course, we're also trying to help the disadvantaged student, all kind of situation. So this year, because the Palos Verdes High School and some school has a different arrangement for categories, so we decided, we discussed with Jeff, so we decided to separate into different category. One is general STEM. Then we have astronautics project and aeronautics project because they no longer have a similar space science category. So it kind of scatter. And we also try to add a little bit of recognition because there's some students doing great jobs, but unfortunately, some student was really outstanding. So this year we have 3 project and 4 students, they got selected for the Student STEAM Award. So let's first start with Justin. Justin was doing this project, although it's not really aerospace, but these days things are really connected. So Justin is from Palos Verdes High School. So Justin, do you want to come out and say a few words about your project? Actually, by the way, all the student project poster you can see from back there.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm really honored to be receiving this recognition and this award. Throughout high school, I've been really interested in computer science research, mainly in artificial intelligence. That's what I plan on continuing studying in college as well. But yeah, this project was on using AI and computer science to detect abnormalities in retinal images using image recognition. And I'm really excited to continue this research at the college level. And thank you so much.
Well, congratulations. Yes.
And I wanted to mention about the Palos Verdes program. Every year they have a science fair, and many of you should go because they're always asking for judges, and I do when I can. And I remember the first time I went there was when Professor Brodsky, he invited us to go. And as you know, he was a big AIAA fan. I don't know how many of you know Bob, but we miss him. And we would go and judge these wonderful student projects. It's a pleasure. So I would encourage all of you to be judges, and Jim would be a perfect judge. No, he lives close by. That's also important.
Well, they've had an outstanding program for decades. I mean, that's, yeah, it's remarkable.
Yeah, Justin was highly recommended. We'll see him shortly again. But indeed, I was the judge this year and the past 3 or 4 years, several years. Yeah, I've been there almost every year in the past few years. So I love to meet a student. By the way, I think you joined the high school membership, right? I think you signed up. Sherry, there's our student. You see, I got you new members. Yeah, she's our membership. She works in JPL. You can talk to her, you know. Yeah, thank you. We want to recruit members. And actually, then Dr. Raymond was talking about getting the high school branch. Remember, you were talking about the high school. Yeah. So good idea. So, okay, thanks, Justin. So we'll see him again shortly. Okay, so the next, actually, it's a very interesting project. Actually, this year, Powers Birdies has several projects close to space, related. And after discussing with the teachers in Powers Birdies High School, Peninsula High School, and we got a recommendation of Jae-hoon Kim and Austin Paul. They have a model-based solar tracking system. It's very outstanding. So, Austin, Jae-hoon, could you come forward? Would you like first say a few words about your project?
So originally, I actually didn't know the advisor for the science research. It was actually a mistake that I was put in the elective course. But in the end, I'm really glad that we did it because I got to learn all about solar panels and about the importance of protecting the environment and things like that. So our project was we used a model-based solar tracking system. And what that is we put motors to rotate solar panels based on the sun's position. And what we found was that when you rotated a solar panel with multiple axes, that it became more efficient, I guess. So our results were kind of like a base to see what other projects we can do in the future. So hopefully, I guess the vision was maybe one day we could have rotating solar panels on actual residential houses, things like that. Yeah, so this was our first year doing research and we did surprisingly well at the science fair. So that was pretty exciting. Jae-hoon doesn't have much to say, so.
Did you all go to the district?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Plaques as well. Good job.
Oh, sure. Oh, I got one. Okay. Already. Got it.
Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, actually, many of those students went to division and ISEP, and actually, we are actually reaching out to because these days, the AI, robot, drones, buzzword students are doing that. So we also even outreach to like a robotic contest, and some of our schools are doing very good. Actually, won the division championship. We'll continue to do that. So, but again, we are aerospace organizations, so aeronautics and astronautics are very important for us as well. So we have a student, Anish Anand, he's doing wonderful jobs. It's a quadcopter project. He's all crazy about it. As I mentioned, he's going to fly to Texas for the division contest. So Anish, could you come forward and say a few words about you and your project.
Hi, I'm Anish, and this is my first year doing research for Peninsula High in high school. And I think my research has been in my family for like my past two brothers have done research basically all 4 years in high school. They're both now in college, but my middle brother, the one right before me, Akash, he also was nominated for this prestigious honor. And he came here, I think, about 4 years ago, if any of you remember it. But so my project was a development of a novel control system for autonomous quadcopter navigation. So I wrote original MATLAB programs and I optimized the control algorithms with the programs that I wrote and also from prototypes that I built from scratch. So based off my results, I found that my dual loop control system, which is the one that I developed, is twice as fast and more importantly, 2 to 3 times more stable than current single loop control systems. Thank you.
If anybody want to give some suggestion to Anish about the navigation for the drones, and he's very passionate about it. He wants to learn more from the expert, from you. Okay, so then you can see a list of recognition. I can tell you almost a lot of people, as I said, AI, machine learning, these are the buzzwords. So almost every single student, they're also working on some kind of project for astroplanet or astronomy. They're doing a good job, but the outstanding, the 4 students you just met are doing the outstanding project. So next is our annual Dr. James Ward Scholarship. And as you see here, our Dr. James Ward here has great contribution, impact to the industry, and also the section AIAA is highly regarded, and we continue to have this scholarship after his name. And he has been wonderful. And Anish just mentioned his middle brother, Akash Anand, actually several years ago, received this scholarship from Dr. James Ward, and he's now in MIT. I just want to mention, your awards really inspire students, great performance for their career. So this year, after a serious discussion with our STEM chair and the school leader, and finally we got outstanding student you just met, Justin Liu. He actually advanced to the regional and got very good result, and also won awards as well. And so this year we decided to give this James Ward Scholarship to Justin. So Justin, would you like to come out again?
Congratulations. Job well done.
Are you going to stand next to Jim?
Yeah.
I was going to share. I really thought it would be appropriate for Jim to hand the award.
Next to the AIAA banner.
Oh, that's good.
Figure out how to do this?
This way I can see the banner.
This way.
Jim, could you move one?
Oh, sure.
You
move your right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Picture time. Sorry, I'm not being a good reporter. Okay, shake hands. Oh, thank you. And I can see up on top is probably the most sold book on space engineering. Mike Gruntman tells me every time we meet the count on Jim's book. And he says, we all write books. at some point in time. And so he looks at me and says, when is your book going to get nowhere close? You know, Jim sells a lot of books too, and that's special.
And the most recent one was with Jeff as well.
Oh, great.
And so, that's right.
Excellent.
A wonderful book. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Justin, this is really great, but he's a true leader in the industry. Of course, Jim, Jeff, you know, all people you here, Dr. Dan Raymer, you know, this is a true leader in the industry and many people. So we are so happy you are here with us and continue to stay with us, you know, because we actually have been in touch with some of your predecessors winning this award, and they went to UC Berkeley, MIT, or other places. We keep them engaged with AIAA. So keep stay in touch with us. It's good for your career. And you join, I think, Jae-Hoon, I think Austin, you also joined the high school membership, right? I saw you signed up. Very good. Sherry, you got 3 more members. Anish, we're waiting for you. I sent you the link, you know, it's free, take a look. We're trying to get more members for Sherry. Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about the field of aerospace as well. In high school, I applied AI mostly to biomedical applications, but I did work at Boeing the last summer, and I did also incorporate my interest in AI there on some rocket propulsion analysis. And so that was a really cool experience, and I hope to continue working in the field of aerospace in the future as well. So thank you.
Yep, bravo, Justin.
Congratulations. But is Lisa here? Dr. Kearney? No, she worked next door. Maybe Raytheon will not let her come.
She's working too hard.
Working too hard. That's right. So the next will be our National Space System Technical Committee National Middle School Essay Contest. Actually, Jeff was the leader and initiator, founder of this technical committee and as well as this essay contest. This year, we actually have 2 very good outstanding entry. Again, this is a national award, so we are actually not giving the award on behalf of the national, but we always recognize the local entries. And this year is a great project, and you can see this because last year, Jeff, we gave the award to Northrop Grumman from James Webb Telescope, and the student get very exciting article, essay for submission, and we have submitted to the national. Unfortunately, they cannot be here. Just a pity, but there's most on the scientific instrument for imaging and the aperture. So Audrey and Rachel, they are the local entry, and if they win the national award, we'll have a award lunch or recognize again. So Jeff, do you want to explain a little bit about this topic and why you come up with this and what do you expect from the student to learn from this?
Well, the topic was very general. It was essentially choose any one aspect of the James Webb Space Telescope and explain its significance and how you would use it in future endeavors. So it's a nationwide essay contest. As Ken mentioned, when I chaired the Space Systems Technical Committee quite some time ago, we actually initiated this contest. I remain involved actually as the at-large category chair.
I noticed that.
And so I think we had more entries in the at-large category than everybody else.
Okay.
So I was really happy about that. We got some very good essays. So, and I read the LA Las Vegas section essays as well. I thought they were quite good, and I think they'll be very competitive at the national level. So,
yeah, very impressive. Yeah. LA is really because you and the Jim have been doing this great jobs, and I think the students really excited about James Webb Scholarship and the SSTC essay contest. We're trying to spread the words. And actually, this year we actually got more high school asking about Dr. James Webb Scholarship. And this year, and every time we outreach to school, we tell the student about how our professionals have been doing. So this echo what Jim has been saying, for the community support. They tell their parents, their representative, and so we also keep asking people to join the essay contest. I personally talked to several seventh graders, but unfortunately they didn't submit eventually. But we'll keep working on that. This is a great idea, and it didn't really cost much. Simple essay contest. ideally, we can do something like this for some other things, but one thing very important is we need to spread the words, that people know what AIAA actually has been trying to do. And this is something I realized AIAA has been doing a lot of things, especially our chapter, but not that many people really are aware of it. So we are trying to step up the effort. So we were able to reach out to more schools and the communities. That's very good. So this is the SS. Unfortunately, they cannot be here. So let's see.
So Ken, before we adjourn, I have to recognize you for putting this whole thing together single-handedly, practically. Your boundless energy and commitment to the Institute is appreciated, to say the least.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. The way you can, with you people and the professionals and students, and they really inspire me. And I want to tell you a story. Honestly speaking, I learned a lot also from Jeff, because a few years ago, I mentioned with a downtown event for the aerospace art. I saw Jeff was carrying the banners on his shoulders, and he's carrying the section and AIAA on his shoulders, and it really make me feel very inspired and try to learn. Jeff is great.
You've learned and you've surpassed every chair that we've had in quite a while. So
I kind of try to learn from you and Jim a lot.
Okay.
I will second this wholeheartedly, and I will also mention one of the heuristics that we learned is that noise severe gets agreed. And here is an example of the person who sends me 10 emails a day.
I get 10 from him in an hour sometimes, actually. Yeah, relentless.
Sorry. I'm speaking. I think I feel there's some kind of connection because at the turn of the millennium, especially after September 11, I was in Pittsburgh. And that's the time I was doing a project, on the space policy, and my part was like analyzing, human going to Mars. And I got a lot of book from Michael Cousin, and I started to learn your name, Jim, and start to pick up AIAA. I joined AIAA member at that time, right around the time of September 11. And I told Professor Sankabin, I think what I want to say is that this is a great time, as Jim just pointed out. Things, you're supposed to be on Mars or on the moon, but we are delayed. And actually, several of our members are talking about the same thing. And it's kind of, I think there's a general calling or kind of sense by many different people, like Jim has been pushing. And then, you even have not only the advanced top secret aircraft, you also have the Mars airplane. And I know Jim has a great project, including the personalized, vehicle to space exploration. I read a little paper. What I want to say is an overall consensus. A lot of people sense it. Why I say so, because when I was trying to look into the membership to invite people for anniversary, I just learned it's very, this is not something, this is more membership type of thing, but I realized actually things are moving into certain direction. I think many people start to get aware of it. What I wanted to say, I joined AIAA membership in somehow middle of 2001. And I just learned that Elon Musk joined in the same year around that time. And just a couple of months before me. Of course, it's huge difference, but what I want to say, is cost is significant. But I think a lot of people gradually realize this is the right time. So it just happened that we also feel that, I also feel, he feel that, everybody feel that it seems to be something interesting coming up and human beings are going back to space. So I think it's the right moment we need to catch. So that's part of the reason when I step in doing this, I was already inspired by Michael Cousin in early 2000. But when Jeff, we started, I just feel this is AIAA, this is a great opportunity and channel to let the community and the young generation to bring together and to really help the aerospace art and education thing, and help people, look into the future of mankind in space. So I sense that. So I feel this excitement. I try to carry this and try to share with everybody. and feel that together we can move forward and we can go back to the moon and Mars as soon as Jim can happily dancing, working over there. Then we can fly dance Mars aircraft and Jim spacecraft over there. So I wish that day happen as soon as possible for humanity. Cause so September 11 really kind of made me feel a lot, and I went through a lot of things, and I realized space is the future. Aerospace is really the technology that mankind really need to focus on. So I've been doing the best to help everybody and bring up the next generation. So what Madhu said was correct. I sense it. I feel that I really want to help. That's and I think AIAA is especially our long history of our chapter really made me really amazed. From Mr. French and to Jim and Jeff, Dan, Jim, Gary, Madhu, everybody, this kind of torch passing on, and it's the excitement. I always want to say it's excitement. I want people to know, to be aware that what AIAA can provide. Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. So. Yeah, sorry I talked a little bit too long. So, but anyway, really appreciate, and it's our great pleasure and honor to have you all here. So here we conclude our program tonight, and see you next year. You are welcome to hang around to chat with students and the expert. And but anyway, have a great night, and so happy to have you with us as a day, evening, great memory. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ken, we'd like a group picture.
Oh, yes.
You would like to stay on with the AIAA Los Angeles section banner.
Okay. Yeah, if you join us and have a group picture, welcome, come forward.
I think we should put the banner elsewhere so that it can be. Get a better banner on the computer.
Move to the computer.
Yeah, no. You have it on the computer. You have an image.
Oh, you mean add it on? Okay.
Do you have it on there already?
Yeah. Okay, don't worry about the banner. We can do the post imaging processing. Yeah, I understand what you mean. For Photoshop.
No, I'm not talking Photoshop. Do you have it on the computer?
The video?
No, that post image. Do you have that in?
I took a couple of images of that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, instead of moving the poster around, you have everybody around the screen. If you take that poster behind them, let them sit. That's a perfect way.
Okay.
We'll go around.
Oh, okay. Let's do this. So, folks, please just gather around this table, facing the front. You sit here. Folks, you just stand there behind the folks around this table. So we take a picture this way. That's much easier. No, it's okay.
If you put this poster behind them, they will get a nice one.
Doggy, do you think it's a good idea? I think. No, don't worry about it. No, but we can add it on. We can add it.
Stay further down as much as you can. See, so we get there, and we can always we'll get tighter. Get the flash, turn on.
I don't know where you turn on your flash.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, I see.
I want you to be in the future.
Well, I want to be
I'll take it for you. Randy, go ahead. Okay, this great group of people. Yeah, Randy, go.
Everybody here? Good group.
Okay.
One minute. And I'll get it's all about organized spirit. Okay, guys, ready?
Okay.
Ready?
Who do we look at?
That's the problem.
Okay,
First on her. Yeah.
One more. Good. And now Ken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's me. Okay. All right. Cheese. 1, 2. So recount, countdown, restart. Okay, right there, right. Okay, cheese, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Thank you. This is beautiful. Thank you so much. Does your wall have enough space for the That's the question. Can you send me? Yeah, I'm sure. Because I already have the picture. You're a 50-year guy. Steering in the right direction. Check it out. Send me an email.
Okay, I'll see you next time.
How do you want it? So we have that light back there. No, no, not that I'm an expert. Okay, that's the problem. Yeah, I just took a bunch. Okay. Get them out. Don't be- don't be- yeah.